Over the past year, more and more people have found themselves with reduced hours, out of work and in more debt than ever before. And it's so easy to become overwhelmed by debt and make money mistakes that will make your situation worse. Trust me, I've been there. I have money mistakes that I've made in my 20s, getting myself into debt and then trying to avoid the situation. My heart's sinking every time I hear the car outside, thinking it could be debt collectors looking for me, or keeping my phone on silent to avoid the calls from the debt collection agencies. Some of those mistakes I made in my early 20s, I'm still feeling the consequences of today. And so I created this channel, not as a self-proclaimed guru or financial expert, but just as a normal person who's documenting their journey on the road to financial freedom and sharing my experience and education in finance to anyone who watches, in the hopes that at least one person will find some useful information in my videos that will help them in their financial situation going forward. So with that being said, here are 5 steps that you can take to take control and manage your debt properly, and make sure you stick to the end, because there's a bonus tip that could save you so much money and so much hassle in the future. So let's get right into it. It can be easy to try and ignore your debt so we don't have to worry about it. We've all been there, out of sight, out of mind, as they say. But the reality is, how can you even think about getting out of debt when you're not even sure how much you owe and who you owe it to? You need to dedicate one day to calculating exactly how much money you owe, who you owe the money to, and the interest that you're paying on each of the debts. Which takes us on to step number 2. Many people in debt, myself included in this one, think that burying your head in the sand will take away all of your problems so you don't have to face them. You know what I'm talking about. If you get a call from an unknown number or one that you don't recognise, you don't answer just in case it's a debt collection agency trying to get hold of you. Or you receive a letter in the post with urgent stamped on it. You take it and put it away in the drawer with all of the others, promising yourself that one day you'll deal with them all. The reality is, this just makes things 10 times worse, because if the credit providers are not receiving their payments and they can't even get hold of you to discuss the matter, they have no choice but to mark on your credit file late or missed payments. And usually if you're over 180 days late and they've not heard from you, they have no choice but to pass your debt off to a debt collection agency and mark your credit report with a default. A default will stay on your credit file for around 6 years and make it more difficult to get credit in the future. So you definitely want to try and avoid this by dealing with your debt straight away. If you're already past that stage and you've got defaults on your credit file already, you're still better off trying to deal with it straight away and get it resolved so that your credit report and your credit score can be repaired faster. Trust me, once you stop avoiding it and start taking control, it's such a relief and like a weight off your shoulders, and you'll be wishing that you just did it a lot sooner. Once you've worked out exactly who you owe money to, it's time to call them. Now, this may seem daunting, embarrassing or scary, but honestly, the person that you're speaking to is a human. They understand that people face financial difficulty at some times, and they'll offer solutions to help. The fact that you're even calling them to discuss your debt shows them that you're not hiding and you're trying to take steps to resolve the issue, which is very important from their side. Most credit providers can help you out by doing things like putting a hold on interest, give you a grace period of a few months and pause payments until you get yourself in a better financial position. They can reduce monthly payments to make it more affordable for you, and even negotiate a settlement offer if you have any savings at all. Believe me, once you call and explain your situation and you take some of the help that they provide, you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't do it sooner and will be in a much happier place. Before we go on to the next tip, if you found any information in this video useful so far, please give it a like, because it really helps out the channel and gives other people who may find the video useful a better chance of seeing it. When you speak to the credit providers or debt collection agencies, you need to make a commitment or a plan of action going forward. It's important that you're honest with yourself and them on what you realistically can afford and stick with going forward. Even if it's just £1 a month from now until you get more income coming in, they'll probably agree with that because at least you're making a commitment. But it's important that you stick with it and make all of your payments on time. To do this, I'd suggest creating direct debits so the payments come out automatically and you won't even have to worry about making the payment or the transfer on time. And after you've made an agreement, if for any reason you can't make a payment on a given month, it's important that you call them and call them before the due date. Explain to them the situation and the fact that you won't be able to make this month's payment, and they'll work with you on creating another solution. But make sure you call ahead of the payment date, because you want to avoid any further missed or late payments being added to your credit report. Whether your debt is still with the original credit provider or has been sold off to a debt collection agency. If you manage to save just a little bit of money that you can put towards your debt, you can negotiate with them on a settlement figure to clear off your debt at a lower amount. Credit providers can view debts where there's been several missed or late payments and they've been chasing the customer up as a high risk or a bad debt, because there's a chance that they may not actually receive all of their money back. And if your debt has been passed to a debt collection agency, the likelihood is they've bought that debt through an extremely reduced rate. For example, a £1,000 debt they could buy for around £40. So in both scenarios, if they receive even just a small amount of the total debt, they'll be happy at the fact they received anything at all, rather than having to write the debt off. So it's important to negotiate. Before the bonus tip, I post 2 videos a week on money management, personal finance, and online business. So if that sounds like something you may be interested in, subscribe down below so you don't miss any future videos that I release. Many people struggling with debt repayments turn to payday loans to cover their living costs or their debt repayments. This is a bad idea because the interest rates on the payday loans are extremely high, and if you miss any repayments on them, it'll cost you a lot of money going forward. Rather than using any payday loans to cover any debt repayments, go back to step number 3 and call the credit provider to discuss your options and make an agreement based on what you can actually afford. Debt consolidation is a different thing and can be useful, so I'll discuss more about that in a future video, but in terms of payday loans, you should avoid them at all costs. So I hope you found this video useful. If you want to share any tips on how to manage your debt properly, leave them in the comments below because I'm sure everyone would love to check them out. Make sure you like the video and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos that are coming out. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one.